Welcome to the Backyard Professor Art Series. I'm not going to have this music on everyone. I just like music. Hey, I am going to do a discussion, a whole series of videos on what I am calling AIHI art, AIHI art. And it's fantasy art. I'm doing fantasy art. I love fantasy art. I've been into castles and knights and dragons and ogres my entire life. J.R.R. Tolkien was a big influence on me, as are others. Robert Jordan in his Wheel of Time series was spectacular. There have been many other authors that I've enjoyed. And in the process of our developing technology, we have a very stunning new development in art that is really important for artists. Digital art is here to stay, and I have fallen completely in love with it. I love digital art. I have an app that I use for myself. AIHI art, artificial intelligence, coupled with human intelligent drawing, painting, changing it up, making it better, is a new combination that gives us fabulous results. And I want to show you some of my results. I'll show you some of the defects as well as some of the greatness of the AI art and how I'm doing AIHI art for my fantasy book that I'm writing. I'm going to illustrate my fantasy book. Oh, a picture is worth 1,000 words. That's not just a cute saying. That's true. But the images that the AI comes up with sometimes, you verbally, I got on Discord and I joined Blue Willow. That's where I'm at, the Backyard Professor. And the verbal description of what you want the engine to bring out transfers it to a picture. And sometimes the pictures are utterly staggering and breathtaking. Other times they're a complete mess. They're horrible. That's where the human comes in. Let me show you an illustration. This is where we get to work with the artificial intelligence and produce even a greater piece of art. Let me show you an example. This is pure AI generated. Now, when I first saw that, I said, no, I asked for a horse. For Pete's sake, that's ridiculous. But wait, wouldn't that be a fantastic addition to a fantasy creature in a story where this is kind of a super horse? He can see both behind and in front, or up and both down, with those eyes on both sides of his head. And so you can see how this kind of expands our thinking. And I thought, I'm going to hang on to that because I'm going to be able to utilize that. Now, with my art in my app, in my sketchbook app, I could take out the other eye. And then that would be a lovely horse head. Whoops. I didn't want me to be the big one. I want to be the small one. That would be a lovely horse if I got rid of that other eye. But on the other hand, as it is, that is really kind of stinking cool. And you can see the other little ear over there up on the right-hand side. I would take that out in my program. Sketchbook enables me to change up the art and all. So this is one idea of AI art. Now, it took the machine just 60 seconds to come up with that. I mean, I would have spent a day digitally trying to paint that. And the interesting thing about AI art is, and this is a really important concept to understand, they can't copyright it. How do you copyright a machine? Right? So there's no copyright laws yet that we're aware of. What you do with the art, and I'm going to show you several examples of what I've been doing with the art. What you do with the art, you can copyright once you generate the image through your instruction to the program. right? So here's another example. Now, this one just freaked me out. When I first saw this, I said, whoa, that is crazy. And I was just about getting ready to delete it. And I thought, okay, hold on now. That also could be a really interesting fantasy horse. I mean, look at the exquisite detail on that the piece of leather around the shoulder. Look at that awesome detail and the intricate mane, all of the individual hairs and all that. That took that machine 45 seconds to produce this piece of art. I mean, that is just fantastic when you see it in that light. Now I can add to that. And so this is another example of an AI picture gone wrong, but it's still usable. And so this is interesting. Now, this one is the most spectacular blunder, what I can call blunder, that I have ever seen in my life. I wanted an archer. And so I generated my description of it, if I remember right, was something about an archer getting ready to fight and shoot an arrow. And this is what it came up with. I mean, we are talking really interesting, bizarre picture here. What a weapon, right? He can shoot behind himself, in front of himself. I mean, it looks like a combination of bows and an Uzi gun. And he's got a great big long arrow pointing behind him, the bow behind him. He's got 2 or 3 bows with the guns. What a contraption. If I really did like, and this is to show you what the reason I wanted to show you this picture that I generated is because the AI, they haven't perfected it yet. And I mean, you can generate cartoons, you can generate steampunk, you can generate illustrations, you can do pen and ink, you can do oil paints, you can do watercolors, you can do photographic realism, and you can do fantasy materials like I do. So I've been experimenting with all kinds of different forms, and I'm going to show you one of my favorite styles here. But if I actually did like that pose that this guy was in, I could take out all of the background if I wanted. And then I could put a gun in his hand or whatever. But I just wanted to show you the AI is not perfect yet. And sometimes it really does give you fascinating, interesting twists. Now, this is a beautiful example of the steampunk. I just simply asked for a steampunk dragon medallion, I do believe, or a belt buckle. I was thinking of a belt buckle. I was curious to see what it would come up with. And this is 4 different variations that it generated in about 1 minute. I mean, is that not cooler than all get out? A steampunk dragon. Fascinating. And of course, sometimes, you know, some of the limbs of the dragon, there's like 5 or 6 of them. Other times there's only 2 of them. The head is really good, the one in the lower right or the lower left-hand corner. But so that's another example of AI art. Now, here's another example. Now, this one, I was just asking it in my verbal description. I was saying something about show me a fairy in a flower with flowers in a fairy setting, because fairies are small, right? And so as a fantasy picture, I forgot to describe that I wanted photographic realism, or else I wanted it along the more of the exquisite detail style, etc. And so this is simply what it popped out. If I was to do a fairy under steampunk conditions, it would do a fairy that had this kind of characteristic with all the gears, the metalworking, all of the intricate details of ovals and swirls and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's 100 different varieties you could do. I have done photographic realistic fairies before, and it's just razzle-dazzling some of the concepts that it brings out. And again, for me, the human intervention is, if I wanted to use that fairy in the upper left-hand corner, I'll point that way, the upper left-hand corner I could, for the wings aren't quite right, you know, and maybe I didn't like the face, so I can change the face up or generate other fairy faces. You can describe the human emotion in the AI engine so that you can say angry or you can say happy, you can say solemn, you can describe it as being mysterious or highly intelligent or completely stupid, etc. And it will generate the human face with different types of emotions, which really makes this a creative endeavor of a partnership of you and the artificial intelligence. For me personally, I like that. Now you gotta check this out. For real. This is Gollum and the Terminator combined. Ha ha ha! Wouldn't that make a great bad guy? Wow. Gollum of J.R.R. Tolkien and the Terminator of Arnold Schwarzenegger. What a mix, right? I mean, look at that guy. That would make a great enemy against a hero, wouldn't it? I was just tinkering one night and I thought, gee, what kind of a combination could I come up with? And in fact, and this is another version. Now, you can keep repeating the generation of your verbal description. So you can keep just regenerating it and it will just keep kicking out more and more and more. You can use other people's prompts and it will give you something different than it gave them. So there's very, very little repeat. The expanded extravaganza of creativity with artificial intelligent art is mind-bogglingly amazing. That's the one thing I love about it. But check this next one out, you guys. Watch this. Yoda and Abraham Lincoln combined. And it's interesting because the AI, funny enough, the AI did combine Yoda with Abraham Lincoln, but it also put Yoda down below him. And that's not what I was asking for. So if I wanted to have a fun birthday card of a Abraham Lincoln historian friend of mine, and I wanted to make a fun birthday card, I would take out the little Yoda in front of Abraham Lincoln and just have Abraham Lincoln at the pulpit. That's where you combine the human intelligence with the artificial intelligence. And I'll show you in some of my fantasy art here how I have been able to do that. It's quite fun. Now, here's another interesting one. I decided to try to do the Green Man. The Green Man on an oak tree. And it did it very incompletely. And I wanted him to be muscular. And oh my goodness, is he muscular? I mean, that's pretty cotton picking awesome. But his arm disappears into the tree. And that kind of is cool. I liked that. But again, it's only one leg, but his other leg disappears into the roots of the tree. So see, I can verbally describe what I'm looking at, but to be able to look at that, that's really kind of cool for a fantasy artist. This generates thousands of ideas in my mind. And I have done lots of different generations of different green men. I think I've got another one I'll show you here tonight. So there's another sample of AI art. Now, this one is simply mind-boggling to me. I just simply basically said, give me a beautiful mountain scene, and that's what it gave me in 40 seconds. I mean, come on, I couldn't paint that in 3 days. That's untouched. I did not touch that. Now, I do add other elements of other generated pictures into some of my other pictures, and I will show you that also. I do that in my sketchbook art app. But I mean, that's just lovely. That is truly delightful. And the AI machine did that in about 1 minute. Fantastic stuff. And you can do this till the cows come home. You can do desert scenes. You can do stuff in outer space. You can do futuristic space stations. You can do futuristic spaceships. I mean, the creativity of so many, there's over, 2.5 million people on Blue Willow generating art all the time. All kinds of crazy stuff. So it is a fun delight for artists if you're interested in expanding your ability. Now, here is one of the best bad enemies of a hero I have ever generated. I mean, this is something else. It was pictures like this that got me asking myself, what is the story behind this? How could you possibly defeat this kind of enemy? And so that's what got me going. I was just playing with the art, and I got thinking, well, I'd like to tell a story with that picture. And I started my fantasy novel. My fantasy novel is of a crippled elf boy who's going to end up being the hero. I'll see if I've got pictures of him. Oh, now this is another sample. Now I just asked it to generate an elf in armor, an elf archer in armor in the forest. And so this is what it came up with. But you'll notice it's really lousy at making weapons. And this is one of the defects I found in the AI art. But look at the background. The background's fantastic. The armor on that guy is really, really well done. What I would have to do in that upper right, all of those arrows and shafts going 3/4 perpendicular to his body, that's so unrealistic. So I would take that picture into my sketchbook, and I will do some live art videos, and I will show you how I clean up a generated picture that makes mistakes like that. I would just take those out if I like that particular pose. Or the other one where he's facing off to the left in that lower left picture, that really, those two really wild, crazy looking bows. I could draw my own bow or find a photograph of a bow and bring it in and put it in with this. There's 1,000 different things you can do to make this stuff work. Now, I wanted to show you this one too. I wanted to have a couple of elf, like a lieutenant and a captain in armor consulting each other because they're getting ready to go to war, right? Well, look how it stretched their bodies to make them so tall. Now, I did not ask it to do that, but the faces are really good. I love the hairdo. So if I wanted to utilize that, if I needed to take off the bottom 2/3 of that picture so that you wouldn't see the extra elongated physical body, that could make a really good picture too. They would keep their armor, and I love the braid in the one guy's hair, and I like how they're talking close. They're kind of whispering. The light is really, really excellent. And so even though it generated a picture that is useless, it's not useless. The AIHI concept, the artificial intelligence, coupled with the human intelligent, my art skills, to be able to clean that up, I could do that. So that makes that kind of useful and fun. So I generally keep everything that I'm doing in my AI art. Now this one, and I wanted to make this one bigger, but I'm just taking this off the screen real quick, just so I can introduce you to AIHI art. I've got some better pictures. This city, it generated, if I remember my description right, trying to generate this, I said, give me a magnificent, ancient stone city, something to that effect. And you can play around with your descriptors in the AI. I mean, I have seen descriptors that are 5 paragraphs long and the pictures come out stunning. I've seen other descriptors where they're just 8 words and it comes out stunning. This one was just a small paragraph, but the magnificence of this city and the way it shows it off into the distance so that you get the magnitude of the greatness of all of those buildings way off, those blue buildings off in the end. That is so cool how they did that. Here's another one that I really, really enjoyed doing because I wanted the castle at sunset, but I wanted the Milky Way to show through in the sky at the same time. This is not something you see in nature. That's what makes this such a fantastic fantasy concept. I love how this does this. And I mean, you can use the ideas behind the James Webb Space Telescope, and you can incorporate those generated images into a sky of broad daylight. I've seen that done on the AI on Blue Willow, and it's spectacular, some of the effects you can get. But that's one of my fun castle ones, and you can do billions and billions of different kinds of castles. Now this one. I wanted to have a really fabulous mad dragon. And I asked it to color it blue. Most of the dragons, if you just say, give me a dragon, see, if you just say, give me a dragon, it will, but it doesn't know in which art medium. Are you asking for a pencil sketching? Are you asking for an oil painting? Are you asking for a photograph, etc.? So I think I just said basically a blue dragon that's gigantic, absolutely hugantic, magnificent, big, 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 big. But notice what it did with its jaw. When I first saw this, I said, no. I wanted it realistic. And then I got looking at it and I thought, wait a minute. That is really kind of a cool fantasy way to have a dragon. I mean, that boy is bad. All he has to do is flick his tongue up and he can chomp you in half, and then flick the tongue down and he can chomp you in half again. He could double eat. He'd be like a great big lawnmower man, wagging his tongue back and forth, eating all the grass and plants, or the flock of sheep or whatever. And the other thing that disappointed me about this now, and this is again one of the interesting ideas of the AI, there's no body. Oh, I think I said put it flying through the clouds. But those clouds underneath it are really kind of cool, and you can see the mountains way down there below. That's kind of a good effect. That gives you the scale of this head. I mean, this thing is like 15 miles long and 10 miles tall, right? It's a huge dragon. But if I wanted to, that jaw concept really got my mental imagination flowing. I could cut off the neck in my art program, in my sketchbook app. I could cut the neck off, change the neck, and I could bring in a different dragon body. I could generate several dragon bodies through the AI, and then I could put this head on a different body. Then I could take that dragon body in whole and put it back into this scene. Because I think those wispy, twirly clouds and stuff, that's really fantastic fantasy type stuff, right? So that's another example of my AIHI art that I am going to be using. That's quite fun. That's very interesting. Now, for me, I have always enjoyed Mother Nature. That's why I'm the backyard professor. I take my books with me into nature. That's why my wife began calling me the backyard professor. I've always liked the old growth forest, the big trees, the dark, etc. On this one, if I remember my verbal description right, I asked it to give me a haunted old growth forest. And these are just two. I generated hundreds of these. These are just two of them that I thought would be spectacular illustration in a haunted forest fantasy book, right? And then if I didn't want the person in it, I could just use in my art program, my art app, I could just take that person out and put in a different creature, a unicorn or something like that. But I thought that was I would have never come up with that on my own. That's what I love about the AI, is it definitely expands your imagination into wonderful new ideas. Now I know how to start drawing haunted forest pictures, more or less. And this one just thrilled me because I asked it to build kind of like Swiss Family Robinson. I wanted a tree house, and yet it gave me the entrance at the base of the tree with a fireplace, of all things. See, that's kind of incongruous, so I could take that out or leave it, whatever. It's a fantasy picture, but notice how the chiaroscuro, the light shining through onto that tree and all. I love that. The darks and the lights, chiaroscuro in this one just really mesmerized me. I generated a lot of these. That's another example of some really cool way of doing light and the old growth forest that I never would have thought of. And here's another one. Here's another generation where I just love how high the cliffs go and they disappear off up into the sky. And then that river come tumbling down, and then on the second level, and then down on the third level, and it comes right down by the people, and there's steps going up, and it looks to me like there's a hole in that cliff. So they live in the cliff. You enter that cliff and go in, and all of the old moss. And I just, that kind of stuff just really whets my imagination for good storytelling. So that's another fun one. Now, and this is so much fun. Look at that unicorn. That is a well done. Now, I did not touch this one up yet. I just asked it to generate a realistic unicorn for me, a golden-headed unicorn, because in my story, there's a legend of the golden-headed unicorn. And it popped this up, and I love it. It is just fabulous. And I said, put it in a forest. I just could not have done that on my own. Now, here's the gimmick. I regenerated. I asked it to do it at a different angle or something. And here's what it generated. And you go, that's not a unicorn, though. It's a two-horn. Notice it turned the ears of the horse into horns. Now, for a unicorn, no, discard that stupid thing. The AI doesn't know what it's doing, and it doesn't. It has to go on your verbal description. But for a fantasy, now here's what I'm going to do. This is what makes this so delightful for fantasy authors as well as artists. I personally would have never made that mistake. And I would have been lesser of a good imagining artist because of it. Now, this is the brother of this unicorn. She's the one-horned. He is the double-horned. And they're going to do battle together against some evil and all. So, you can incorporate stuff like this. It's really kind of fun. Now, this is going to be one of my treasure maps. And I specifically verbally asked the AI, I said, give me an ancient pirate treasure map on parchment. And something to that effect on old parchment. And this is one of the generations. Now, when you look at this, you say, well, that's not a map. No, this is the entrance. This is like the old mazes, the labyrinth, right? So again, for fantasy, this is going to be really cool to utilize into my stories. So it does stuff like that. Now, no fantasy novel is without its villains, the ogres. Now, I have not touched this one at all. I just asked it to give me a really determined, evil, no good ogre in armor. I mean, this guy wants to kill you. Give me something that's ugly, that's just on the beyond the edge of evil. I tried to elaborate and give it a description. And the more you do that, the better the AI generates whatever it is you're asking it to do, which is spectacular. Well, that's a terrific ogre. I really like that one. I believe I've got another one. Yeah, now look at this guy. Now you look at him at first and you go, oh, for Pete's sake, I can't use that. But hold on. In a fantasy with fantasy art and pictures, that is a spectacular ogre, man. Now, of course, I don't like the weapon, the weapon in his right hand. So I would redraw that in my app. The sword's okay, but notice the hands. The hands don't quite hold it right either. That's part. The AI has difficulty with limbs, whether it's on a four-limbed animal or people or whatever. And so if you have some skills in art or learn how to, then you can correct that yourself. For me, the entire body, except for the hands and that one weapon, is superb. The setting is mysterious. There's mist. You can't see all the way back there. This guy is pretty flippin' ugly. He's bad. He looks like he's been in battle before. So I would redraw the way the hands are holding the weapons, and I would redraw one of the weapons. And that thing coming up his back, on his back, it looks like some kind of a bludgeon or a spear point or something. I would probably either just take that out or put another sword on or something like that. But see, you can change it up. It gives you the basic base. I would have never come up with an ogre that looks so hideous and scary and and you can make this guy be, 15 feet tall if you want. It's just a matter of perspective, or you can put him at 6 foot. I'll show you how I've manipulated some pieces. Now, in this one, this is a generation of 2. I just simply asked it to give me a group of ogres that are coming after you. They're in war, and here they come, and you had better be prepared. I hope you've eaten your Wheaties because we're at war. And look at what it generated. That is really cool. I really, really like that. So that's a fun part of it. Oh, and this one. Forget the window up top. That's my room. Sorry. I took a shot of the screen here. I should have cropped this, but this magnificent castle with the waterfalls. Oh my gosh, I love this picture. Now, notice how in the distance, the hazy distance, and then that second building that's not quite as sharp, it's not as much in focus, and so it gives you a wonderful depth. And then all those waterfalls by this castle. I can generate stuff like that all day long and never get bored with it because the variety of the AI is virtually endless. It can give you thousands of things like this. It's tremendous how it does that. Now, this is my favorite picture of the golden-headed unicorn. I actually have this as an illustration, but not this way. I have manipulated it. I have changed it up so that he is fighting the hero. Actually, he's testing the hero. But yeah, that is an absolutely delightful picture of the golden-headed unicorn in my story. I love that picture. Now, let's get to the macho hero, one of them. This guy is bad. He's the blacksmith. Now, you'll notice, though, that the proportion of his chest isn't quite right. It's almost like it doubled his chest when it shouldn't have. Horizontally, he's a little bit funky looking, right? I can fix that in my program. But the power that this picture exudes is absolutely fabulous. I have no idea what he's holding. I don't know why the AI generated that. Look at that metal thing next to his head that's just floating in the air. I haven't got a clue what that is. I don't know. The fire behind him, I could, or I would probably just take him out of this background and put him somewhere else or somehow else. And I would certainly change what he's holding in his hand. See, the hands aren't very well developed. That one hand has a glove, but the other hand, the fingers just aren't right at all. You can't technically be. So the AI has a long way to go before it can generate really, really good stuff that you don't have to change up. But that's the fun, is helping it change it up so that you have really magnificent pictures. I love this thing, man. Yeah, he's going to be my blacksmith good guy. I am, in my description of him, he's going to be 6'8", 380 solid muscle, solid power, and a nice guy, unless he's fighting you. And then God save the queen, right? So, and finally, now here is another of the AI generated of the Green Man. Now look at how you saw my earlier Green Man, the muscular guy, right? So I quit describing him as muscular. I've got like 20 different generations of him. And it gave me this generation of 4 generations of the Green Man, just the head, the Green Man. But notice the one in the upper left, the profile one. Notice his hands coming out, his arm. He actually has the tree growing up through his head, through his hair. I think that is so fabulous. And then the head on the trunk is really kind of fun. Notice that lower right hand side. That almost looks like Abraham Lincoln, doesn't it? Abraham Lincoln as the Green Man. So if I wanted to, I could, and notice how it didn't make him the Green Man because the face is a fleshy color. So I would go into my app, my sketchbook app, and I would match the colors of the tree, and I would color all of his skin green. I wouldn't leave it like that fleshy because the Green Man doesn't have fleshy color like that. So, but you can change it up. I would also add more possible branches or something. But so there's 4 different interesting generations of the Green Man. And it's stuff like this that is just so much fun to do that makes the AIHI art so fascinating and interesting. Now, I'm going to do a lot of videos on my AIHI art as I generate it. And I think I can develop a way to do a live program here where I can actually show you a step-by-step process of generating the art and then being able to utilize my sketchbook program to manipulate the art. I think I can put together something so that I can show you the step-by-step process. Some of my pictures, I have generated various different types of pictures. I could have swore I had more. I could have swore I had more pictures than this. But anyway, it's all good. It'll give me a chance to do another show. I have generated 18 to 20 different types of pictures, and I've taken an element of this generation and part of this picture and part of that picture and part of that picture, and I've combined it all into a single painting, a dramatic painting illustrating a part of my story. You can do that with this AI-generated art using the sketchbook app. So easy, it's just staggering. It's fun. It's very enjoyable. It adds an entire exquisite new dimension to my art that I have so much fun doing. So I just wanted to share the concept with you of AIHI art, of art that is utilizing the tools of technology to improve not only our capabilities, but our imagination, and to really make it fun to do and very fun to look at. So that is the AIHI art of the backyard professor. I don't have an ending clip yet to say thank you and all that. I'm just getting back on this channel with my materials, so I will try to do that and get it. Oh, I can play it. Yeah, kind of silly. Yeah. So anyway, no, I'm not going to get that noise. I'll come up with something. I'll figure out a way to make it more fluffy and nice and pleasant. So thank you for all your guys' support. Remember, be good, do well, have fun, stay happy, make lots of friends, and happy drawing. Come on back. I'm going to show you a boatload of AIHI art that I'm developing, that I'm doing, that is absolutely exquisite stuff. So thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys next